Welcome to triggers, which are going to be a very important component in terms of how we expose our workflows and when to run them. So in the previous version, we basically created workflow in N8N. I also kind of implore you to try other platforms just to kind of get this idea. It's kind of like this idea that you want to build a better mental model of what a workflow is. Like AI workflow doesn't matter. Just what it goes into like stitching these items together and what do you need to know. It's like kind of programming. Like if you've done programming, you only need to know programming in one language and then you can apply these mental models into other languages. Same thing with workflows. Don't think of it as like a Lindy workflow or a Gumloop workflow. These models and these platforms are going to change so much. It's just better to kind of build these intuitions about how to put these things together. Why would you need to join them, right? Like maybe it's a list coming in. And that's going to remain consistent across, as you see. If you look at N8N, Gumloop, and Lindy, you basically test and run and deploy or execute, as you saw it there. But running things manually defeats the purpose of automation, right? Like if you have to go and like create and click that button, or you basically go and click that button, that defeats the purpose of automation. Like you have to be up and awake and with the screen open and with that tab on, click there. So why do we need automation? It basically saves us time. And so basically we need automation to make our lives easier and kind of have these things run on automation. So these are different other ways which you can do to start workflow. So we've been doing it manually, but a Gmail trigger could be an in-app trigger. Like maybe, let's think about it, right? Like when a new email comes, what do you normally do? Like let's say a new email comes, like let's say a new company reaches out and maybe you want to search them up for a sponsorship opportunity. Maybe you get a Gmail, you see if it's a company related to your field, search it, and then basically send a Slack message of if it's related. So you think about these things like if it's a certain thing, when that happens. So these things are going to be common across all workflow builders, but I want you to think about this like when this happens, do this, right? So it's like a conditional condition that runs a workflow. Then we have a schedule trigger, like maybe independent of whatever something happens, it runs. Like let's say at 8 a.m., it basically sends out an email talking about what you have in your schedule, or a stand down email on what you did based on some Slack information. Webhooks is basically like, we won't talk about this in this course, but I want you to basically know about it. It's basically a link. Whenever you hit that link, let's say www.google.com, whenever you hit it, it starts that workflow. This is useful for if you're like wanting to trigger different workflows inside different code bases. So let's kind of look at all these triggers right here. Let's go back to the workflow automation and let's kind of add that first step. And so you can see here, there's different trigger that makes it start. So you can trigger it manually and you can do it with an on-app event. Like let's say you have the Gmail one. Oh, not GoToHuman, Gmail. And then you can see what the triggers are. On message received is one trigger. So whenever you receive a message, you can trigger this thing. Then you have, if I get rid of this, let's kind of look at the second one, which is basically on schedule. So this is basically you can set in like in terms of how many days, and then trigger at the hour, and then basically we'll run that workflow at that particular time. I'm not gonna run these because these are a little bit dependent on time and things like that, but as homework, or as not as homework, as something that you do to learn these better, you can try these out. So you have the schedule triggers, then you have the in-app events, so Gmail, on message received is one. What would that look like in Google Sheets? So maybe let's say I want to add another trigger for on-app event, and then a Sheets. So whenever a new add row is added, that could be one, right? And basically you have to select the credential and then document, and then whenever that new row is added, maybe do something about it. Like maybe your coworker has to put like a row there, and then you research and populate some other items. So this was just the on-app events, and as we talked about the examples, and then we have the schedule triggers, and then we have the webhooks where you create a URL and then you can just basically run that URL whenever you are doing it from another code base. So we won't talk about this. In this would be an intermediate course, but if you want to try it out, definitely give it a try. So now what we're doing is basically use that workflow that we had. So if we go back, I believe it was this one. So we were going to add some sort of Gmail. Okay. Send a message, and basically I'll send it to this account and message operation send to, I'll blur this out, and subject is going to be summary email, right? And the email type could be text or something else, and this could be the message. So I'll run the previous nodes. Issued can be executed for that reason. Problem executing. Okay, let's kind of see it step by step. Let's see where the issue is coming. This is also an important component of debugging, like running things separately. And kind of let's look here. Okay, so content, I'll just basically say here, this is the summary of your emails. So if I run it, it will send out an email to this particular, as you can see, it's sent. And you can see here, I have received the summary. You can see I've received the summary. So your task right now is, instead of having like a manual trigger, replace it to some sort of a cron job, which basically runs at a certain interval. And this basically sends you a summary of all your emails bright and early in the morning or at night. Okay. So in the next unit, we're going to be talking a little bit more about nodes, like nodes 102. In kind of explaining different types of nodes and then also building a better idea. So basically try to do this. All right. I will see you in the nodes 102 module.